The first rays of dawn pierce the desert silence, casting long shadows across the Giza plateau. In this moment, as golden light strikes the weathered limestone faces of the Great Pyramid, the true scale of humanity's greatest mystery reveals itself. Each massive block, some weighing 15 tons, others pushing 80, sits perfectly aligned, joined with tolerances that would challenge modern construction crews armed with laser levels and computer-guided machinery. The numbers are staggering, almost incomprehensible. 2.3 million stone blocks, each one quarried, shaped, transported, and lifted into position with a precision that defies explanation. The base of the Great Pyramid covers 13 acres, yet its foundation is leveled to within just 2 centimeters across its entire span. The sides rise at an angle of 51 degrees and 52 minutes, a slope that produces a structure whose height, when multiplied by 43,200, equals the polar radius of Earth. This is not coincidence. This is design. Precision machining analysis reveals joints between stones that are thinner than a sheet of paper, so thin that a knife blade cannot slip between the blocks. Modern construction techniques struggle to achieve such precision, even with computer-controlled machinery. Yet here it stands, allegedly built by a Bronze Age civilization using copper tools and wooden ramps. The Orthodox narrative tells us that around 2580 BC, during the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, Pharaoh Khufu commanded the construction of this monument as his eternal tomb. 20 years of labor, they say. 100,000 workers rotating in 3-month shifts, hauling blocks up massive earthen ramps that somehow vanished without leaving a trace of their existence. But the mathematics tell a different story, a story that grows more impossible with each calculation. If the pyramid was indeed built in 20 years, workers would have needed to place 1 block every 2 minutes, working around the clock without rest. Not just placing them, but positioning each multi-ton stone with millimeter precision, aligning them perfectly with cardinal directions more accurately than most modern buildings achieve. The logistics alone stagger the imagination. Feeding 100,000 workers in a desert environment, managing the supply chains for tools and materials, coordinating the transport of stones from quarries hundreds of miles away. The tools supposedly used, copper chisels, wooden rollers, hemp ropes, crumble under the weight of engineering analysis. Copper, even when hardened, cannot effectively cut the hard granite found in the pyramid's core chambers. The rope technology of the period could not support the massive weights involved. The ramps necessary to reach the pyramid's peak would have required more material than the pyramid itself, yet no archaeological evidence of such ramps has ever been found. Geological analysis of the precision cutting in the granite blocks of the king's chamber reveals surfaces flat to within thousandths of an inch. The corners meet at perfect right angles. The bore holes drilled into the granite show machine-like precision, with perfectly parallel sides and consistent diameters. These are not the marks of primitive tools, but of advanced machinery operating with mechanical precision. The more closely one examines the Great Pyramid, the more the Bronze Age construction theory begins to crumble. The internal chambers demonstrate knowledge of acoustics, with chambers that resonate at specific frequencies. The ventilation shafts align with stellar positions with astronomical precision. The overall design incorporates advanced mathematical constants, pi, the golden ratio, and measurements that encode the dimensions of the Earth itself. Modern attempts to replicate even small portions of the pyramid's construction have ended in failure. Japanese engineers, using contemporary equipment and unlimited budgets, attempted to build a scale model using ancient techniques. They succeeded in moving only a few small blocks before abandoning the project as impossible. If modern technology struggles to replicate the feat, how did Bronze Age workers accomplish it with primitive tools? The questions multiply like fractures in the Orthodox narrative. Why do we find no contemporary Egyptian records describing the pyramid's construction? Why are there no hieroglyphic inscriptions detailing the methods, the workforce, the timeline? For a civilization that documented everything from tax records to military campaigns, this silence is deafening. The ancient Egyptians themselves may provide the most damning evidence against the conventional theory. In their own texts, they never claimed to have built the pyramids. Instead, they treated these monuments with the reverence reserved for ancient mysteries, referring to them as works of the gods or the ancestors from the first time, Zep Tepi. Arab historians of the Middle Ages, drawing from sources closer to ancient Egypt than modern scholars, consistently reported that the pyramids were built before the Great Flood by a civilization of advanced builders. These accounts, dismissed as myth by contemporary Egyptology, begin to take on new significance when examined alongside the engineering evidence. The acoustic properties alone suggest knowledge far beyond Bronze Age capabilities. The king's chamber resonates at 438 Hz, creating standing waves that transform the granite structure into a massive, resonating cavity. The Grand Gallery acts as an acoustic amplifier, its corbelled ceiling designed with the precision of a concert hall. This is not the accidental result of tomb construction. This is deliberate acoustic engineering. Engineering analysis reveals that the entire structure may have functioned as a machine, converting seismic energy into usable power through harmonic resonance. The chemical residue found in the king's chamber suggests reactions involving hydrogen production. The pyramid's alignment with underground water sources creates the perfect conditions for generating electrical fields through pressure differential. This is not the tomb of a pharaoh. This is technology disguised as architecture. As the morning light climbs higher, illuminating the monument's eastern face, the shadows reveal more impossibilities. The blocks are not simply stacked, they are fitted with interlocking joints that distribute weight and resist seismic activity. The structure has survived earthquakes that toppled buildings throughout Egypt, standing testament to engineering principles that modern science is only beginning to understand. The precision extends beyond mere construction to the realm of advanced physics. The pyramid's position at 29.9792458 degrees north latitude corresponds almost exactly to the speed of light in meters per second, 299,792,458. The probability of this being coincidental approaches zero. This level of precision in both geographical positioning and physical constants suggests knowledge of the Earth's dimensions and the fundamental properties of light itself. Wind whistles through the ancient passages, carrying with it the weight of 4.5 millennia. Yet the structure shows no signs of settling, no evidence of the gradual decay that afflicts all human constructions. The blocks remain as precisely positioned as the day they were placed, defying the inexorable forces of time and gravity. Professional stonemasonry analysis of the blocks reveals cutting patterns that could only have been made by diamond-tipped saws operating at high speeds. The bore holes show spiral patterns consistent with modern drilling techniques, complete with tool marks that indicate rotation speeds impossible to achieve with Bronze Age technology. Standing at the base of this monument, one cannot escape the crushing weight of a single, unavoidable conclusion. The conventional explanation for the pyramid's construction is not merely incomplete, it is impossible. The question that has haunted researchers for generations takes on new urgency in the light of these impossibilities. If the Bronze Age Egyptians could not have built the Great Pyramid with their tools, their technology, and their workforce, then someone else did. Someone with capabilities that challenge our entire understanding of ancient history. Someone whose identity has been systematically erased from the historical record. But if not the Egyptians, then who? The scorching midday sun beats down on the Giza Plateau, where the latest survey data tells a story that defies every principle of Bronze Age construction capabilities. Each measurement represents not just a dimension, but an impossibility compounded upon impossibility. The foundation stones of the Great Pyramid, massive limestone blocks weighing up to 15 tons each, are positioned with a levelness that challenges modern construction standards. Across the pyramid's base, spanning more than 750 feet on each side, the variation in height measures less than an inch. To achieve this precision today, construction crews rely on laser levels, GPS positioning systems, and computer-controlled machinery. The ancient builders supposedly accomplished this feat using A-frame levels, plumb bobs, and the naked eye. The mathematics embedded in the structure's design reveal knowledge that Bronze Age civilizations should not have possessed. The pyramid's height of 481 feet, when multiplied by 43,200, equals the polar radius of Earth to within 99.8% accuracy. This is not an approximation. It is an encoded measurement of planetary dimensions that requires precise knowledge of Earth's actual size and shape. Structural engineering analysis of the pyramid's internal chambers reveals tolerances that would challenge contemporary stone-cutting facilities. The King's Chamber, hewn from solid granite blocks, demonstrates precision that borders on the impossible. Each surface is flat to within 2/1000ths of an inch across its entire span. The corners meet at precisely 90 degrees, with deviations measuring less than 1/60th of a degree. These tolerances are not achievable through manual labor, regardless of skill level or time investment. Modern granite fabrication requires diamond-tipped cutting tools operating at speeds of thousands of revolutions per minute. The cutting patterns visible on the granite blocks show the characteristic spiral marks of rotary drilling, marks that cannot be produced by the copper tools and bronze chisels available to the Fourth Dynasty of Egypt. The workforce calculations paint an equally impossible picture. If the Great Pyramid was indeed constructed in 20 years, as mainstream Egyptology maintains, workers would have needed to quarry, transport, shape, and position one block every 2 minutes and 20 seconds, working continuously day and night for 2 decades. This calculation assumes no time for rest, meals, tool maintenance, or the countless other necessities of a massive construction project. The logistics become even more staggering when examined in detail. The limestone blocks came from quarries located across the Nile River, requiring transport by barge during flood season when the river level was sufficient for navigation. The granite used in the internal chambers originated from quarries in Aswan, over 500 miles to the south. Moving a single granite block, some weighing 70 tons, from Aswan to Giza would have required months of careful planning and execution. Yet the builders positioned these massive granite blocks not just at ground level, but within the pyramid's internal structure, some more than 300 feet above the base. The engineering challenges of lifting 70-ton blocks to such heights using Bronze Age technology approach the realm of impossibility. The ramps necessary to achieve such elevation would have required more material than the pyramid itself, creating earthworks visible from space and leaving behind archaeological evidence that has never been found. Modern attempts to understand the construction process have yielded frustrating results. Computer simulations of ramp-based construction methods consistently fail when subjected to realistic constraints of Bronze Age technology. The rope systems of the period could not support the necessary loads. The workforce requirements exceed the population capacity of the region. The timeline compresses beyond physical possibility. Astronomical analysis adds another layer of impossibility to the construction timeline. The 3 pyramids of Giza are positioned to mirror the constellation Orion as it appeared in the sky around 10,500 BC, more than 7,000 years before the supposed construction date. The precision of this celestial alignment is exact, accounting for the effects of precession across millennia. This astronomical knowledge requires not just observation skills, but sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics and mathematical calculation. The internal passages of the Great Pyramid reveal additional mathematical relationships that challenge the tomb theory. The The Grand Gallery's length of 153 feet corresponds to the number of fish caught in the miraculous catch described in the Gospel of John. The pyramid's perimeter of 3,023 feet, when divided by its height, yields pi to 11 decimal places, a mathematical constant that was supposedly unknown to ancient civilizations. These relationships cannot be coincidental. They represent deliberate design choices that require advanced mathematical knowledge and sophisticated planning. The precision involved in encoding multiple mathematical constants within a single structure demands computational abilities far beyond Bronze Age capabilities. The acoustic properties of the internal chambers provide additional evidence of advanced design. The King's Chamber resonates at a fundamental frequency of 438 Hz, creating standing waves that transform the granite structure into a massive, resonating cavity. The dimensions and proportions of the chamber are precisely calibrated to achieve this resonance, demonstrating knowledge of acoustical engineering principles that were supposedly not discovered until the modern era. Cymatics research reveals that these acoustic properties are not accidental byproducts of tomb construction, but deliberate features of an engineered system. When sound waves at the chamber's resonant frequency are introduced, the granite walls vibrate with measurable amplitude. The entire structure acts as a massive acoustic instrument designed to amplify and focus sound energy with scientific precision. The chemical analysis of residue found within the King's Chamber adds another layer of mystery to the structure's purpose. Traces of hydrogen chloride, hydrated zinc chloride, and hydrogen gas suggest chemical reactions involving the production of hydrogen, a process that would have no purpose in a burial chamber but makes perfect sense as part of an energy generation system. The precision required to align the pyramid's passages with stellar positions demonstrates astronomical knowledge that challenges conventional timelines. The so-called air shafts from the King's and Queen's chambers point directly to specific stars and constellations, but their alignments correspond to stellar positions from different historical periods. This suggests either construction over extended time frames or advanced knowledge of stellar precession cycles. The foundation itself presents engineering challenges that Bronze Age technology could not have overcome. The pyramid sits on a natural limestone plateau that has been precisely leveled and shaped to accommodate the structure's massive weight. This foundation work required removing thousands of tons of bedrock with surgical precision, creating a platform level to within centimeters across its entire area. Modern engineering analysis reveals that the foundation incorporates advanced principles of load distribution and seismic resistance. The base stones are fitted with interlocking joints that allow the structure to flex slightly during earth movements while maintaining its overall integrity. This sophisticated understanding of structural dynamics enabled the pyramid to survive earthquakes that destroyed buildings throughout the region. The absence of construction debris around the Giza site compounds the mystery. A construction project of this magnitude should have left behind massive quantities of waste stone, broken tools, and construction materials. Yet, archaeological surveys find remarkably little evidence of the construction process itself. The site appears to have been cleaned with obsessive thoroughness, removing all traces of the building methods employed. The tool marks found on the stone surfaces tell a story that conflicts with Bronze Age capabilities. Saw marks on limestone blocks show perfectly straight cuts with consistent depth and spacing. Core samples from drill holes reveal spiral patterns that could only be produced by rapidly rotating drill bits. These are not the irregular hand-hewn marks of primitive tools, but the precise signatures of machine-based cutting. Perhaps most damning of all is the complete absence of any learning curve in pyramid construction. The Great Pyramid represents the pinnacle of architectural achievement, yet it appears without precedent in the archaeological record. There are no practice pyramids, no failed experiments, no gradual development of techniques. The builders achieved perfection on their first attempt, an impossibility in any technological development. The mathematical nightmare extends beyond individual measurements to encompass the entire complex. The positions of all three Giza pyramids encode the golden ratio, with distances between structures corresponding to this fundamental mathematical constant. The site plan incorporates sophisticated geometric relationships that require advanced mathematical knowledge and precise surveying capabilities. As the afternoon shadows begin to lengthen across the plateau, the weight of these impossibilities settles like dust in the desert air. Every measurement tells the same story. Every calculation reaches the same impossible conclusion. The Great Pyramid could not have been built by Bronze Age Egyptians using the tools and techniques available to Fourth Dynasty civilization. Yet here it stands, monument to capabilities that officially did not exist, testament to knowledge that was supposedly never possessed. The mathematical nightmare deepens with every precise measurement, every impossible tolerance, every encoded constant that speaks of wisdom far beyond its alleged time. The question that haunts every honest examination of the evidence grows more urgent with each passing hour. If the mathematics make Bronze Age construction impossible, if the engineering challenges could not have been overcome with primitive tools, if the precision demands capabilities that did not officially exist, then what secrets lie buried in the silent stones of Giza? In the vast archives of ancient Egypt, among thousands of papyri detailing everything from tax records to religious ceremonies, a deafening silence echoes through history. The Egyptians documented their lives with obsessive detail, recording harvests, military campaigns, building projects, and royal decrees. They carved hieroglyphs into every surface, painted murals on tomb walls, and preserved their achievements for eternity. Yet when it comes to the construction of the Great Pyramid, the most magnificent structure on their land, the record falls mysteriously silent. No construction blueprints exist, no workforce records survive, no accounts describe the quarrying, transport, or assembly of 2.3 million stone blocks. For a civilization that documented the construction of far lesser monuments with elaborate detail, this absence is not merely puzzling, it is impossible. The Turin Papyrus, one of Egypt's most complete historical records, lists the pharaohs and their accomplishments with meticulous precision. It credits Khufu with various administrative achievements and military campaigns, but nowhere does it mention the construction of the pyramid that supposedly consumed 20 years of his reign and the labor of 100,000 workers. This omission becomes even more significant when considering that the papyrus carefully records far smaller construction projects undertaken by lesser pharaohs. The Palermo stone, another crucial historical document, chronicles the reigns of early pharaohs and their major accomplishments. Like the Turin Papyrus, it makes no reference to pyramid construction during Khufu's reign. Instead, it treats the pyramids as existing landmarks, ancient even to the scribes who carved these historical records. The stone refers to the pyramids using terminology typically reserved for monuments from the distant past, structures so old their origins had been forgotten. Even more telling is the complete absence of hieroglyphic inscriptions within the Great Pyramid itself. The walls that should have been covered with religious texts, biographical information about Khufu, and scenes depicting his journey to the afterlife remain bare. This stands in stark contrast to every other pharaonic tomb from the period, which are decorated with elaborate inscriptions designed to guide the deceased through the underworld. The few markings found within the pyramid, paint daubs in the relieving chambers above the king's chamber, were discovered only in the 19th century and remain highly controversial. These crude marks, supposedly indicating work gangs loyal to Khufu, appear to have been added long after the pyramid's construction. They show none of the sophisticated artistry or religious significance found in genuine pharaonic inscriptions, raising questions about their authenticity and age. Ancient Egyptian texts that do mention the pyramids treat them with a reverence typically reserved for works of the gods. The Westcar Papyrus, dating to the Middle Kingdom, refers to the pyramids as structures from the first time, Zep Tepi, a mythical golden age when gods ruled Egypt directly. This terminology suggests the pyramids were already ancient mysteries to the Egyptians themselves, monuments inherited from a forgotten era rather than recent construction projects. The inventory stela, found near the Great Pyramid in the 19th century, presents perhaps the most damning evidence against 4th dynasty construction. Though dated much later than Khufu's reign, the inscription claims to record ancient traditions, stating that the pyramids and sphinx existed before Khufu's time. According to the stela, Khufu merely restored these ancient monuments rather than constructing them. While Orthodox Egyptology dismisses this inscription as a later fabrication, its claims align perfectly with the archaeological evidence of sophisticated restoration work found throughout the Giza complex. The hieroglyphic symbol for pyramid itself provides another clue to their true age. The symbol appears in texts predating the 4th dynasty, suggesting the concept of pyramids existed in Egyptian consciousness before the supposed construction period. This linguistic evidence indicates the Egyptians inherited knowledge of these structures rather than inventing them during Khufu's reign. Herodotus, the Greek historian who visited Egypt around 450 BC, recorded the accounts of Egyptian priests regarding the pyramids' construction. Significantly, the priests told him these monuments were built by a king named Cheops, the Greek rendering of Khufu, but their descriptions of the construction methods bear no resemblance to Bronze Age capabilities. They spoke of machines that could lift massive stones, technologies that sound more like advanced mechanical devices than the primitive tools supposedly available to 4th dynasty builders. The writings of Manetho, an Egyptian priest who compiled the history of Egypt for Ptolemy I, make no mention of pyramid construction during the 4th dynasty. His chronicles, based on temple records and ancient traditions, treat the pyramids as pre-existing monuments that the pharaohs maintained and restored. This silence from one of Egypt's most knowledgeable historians suggests the construction of these monuments occurred outside the historical periods he documented. Arab historians of the medieval period, working from sources much closer to ancient Egypt than modern scholars, consistently reported that the pyramids were built before the Great Flood by an advanced civilization. The Arab chronicler al-Makrizi, writing in the 14th century, cited ancient Egyptian sources claiming the pyramids were constructed by Surid, a king who ruled Egypt before the deluge. These accounts describe technologies and capabilities far beyond those of Bronze Age Egypt, including the use of magical forces to move massive stones. The complete absence of contemporary inscriptions becomes even more significant when compared to other 4th dynasty monuments. The pyramid complex at Dashur, attributed to Khufu's father Sneferu, contains numerous inscriptions documenting its construction and purpose. The mastaba tombs of nobles from the same period are filled with detailed accounts of their construction and the workers who built them. Yet the Great Pyramid, supposedly the most important construction project of the entire dynasty, contains no such documentation. Egyptian religious texts that do reference the pyramids describe them as cosmic machines, devices for stellar transformation rather than simple tombs. The pyramid texts, among the oldest religious writings in the world, speak of the pharaoh ascending to the stars through the pyramid's passages. These texts describe the structure's function in terms that suggest sophisticated understanding of astronomical and physical principles, yet they never attribute the pyramid's construction to any historical pharaoh. The mathematical precision encoded in the pyramid's design represents knowledge that appears nowhere else in 4th dynasty Egypt. The sophisticated understanding of pi, the golden ratio, and Earth's dimensions demonstrated in the pyramid's proportions finds no parallel in contemporary Egyptian mathematics or architecture. This suggests the mathematical knowledge necessary for the pyramid's design came from outside the established Egyptian intellectual tradition. Archaeological evidence from 4th dynasty sites reveals a civilization capable of impressive stonework and engineering, but nothing approaching the precision found at Giza. The pyramids at Meidum and Dashur, while impressive, show clear evidence of trial and error, structural problems, and learning curves typical of developing technology. The Great Pyramid appears without precedent, showing no signs of the experimentation and refinement that would be expected if it represented the pinnacle of gradual technological development. The absence of pyramid building tools from 4th Dynasty archaeological sites compounds the mystery. Excavations have uncovered the workshops, living quarters, and tool assemblages of various construction projects from this period, but nothing capable of achieving the precision found at Giza. The tools discovered are appropriate for the crude stonework found elsewhere, but wholly inadequate for the machine-like precision of the Great Pyramid. Most revealing of all is the complete absence of any learning curve in pyramid construction. If the Egyptians developed the technology to build the Great Pyramid during the 4th Dynasty, we would expect to find evidence of gradual improvement, failed experiments, and technological development. Instead, the Great Pyramid appears suddenly in the archaeological record as a fully realized masterpiece, suggesting its builders already possessed the necessary knowledge and capabilities. The restoration work found throughout the Giza complex tells a different story than original construction. Clear evidence exists of repairs, modifications, and maintenance work undertaken during various pharaonic periods. The casing stones, inner passages, and structural elements show distinct phases of intervention, with cruder workmanship overlaying the original precision construction. This pattern suggests the Egyptians inherited these monuments and worked to maintain them rather than building them from scratch. The dating methods used to assign the pyramids to the 4th Dynasty rely primarily on circumstantial evidence rather than direct proof. Carbon dating of organic materials found within the pyramid yields dates spanning thousands of years, with some samples predating the 4th Dynasty by millennia. The association with Khufu rests largely on the controversial inscriptions found in the relieving chambers and the proximity to 4th Dynasty mastaba tombs, evidence that could equally support a restoration attribution rather than original construction. The sophisticated water management systems found beneath the Giza Plateau represent engineering knowledge that appears nowhere else in 4th Dynasty Egypt. These underground channels, designed to manage groundwater flow and prevent structural damage, demonstrate understanding of hydrology and geological engineering that predates known Egyptian capabilities by thousands of years. The precision of these systems matches the impossible tolerances found in the pyramid itself, suggesting they were part of the original design rather than later additions. As twilight settles over the plateau, the silence of the stones becomes even more profound. These monuments stand as witnesses to capabilities that officially never existed, testament to knowledge that was supposedly never possessed. The ancient Egyptians themselves, in their careful documentation of every aspect of their civilization, provide the most compelling evidence that they did not build these impossible structures. The silence speaks louder than any inscription ever could. In a civilization that carved their achievements into eternal stone, the absence of any record claiming credit for humanity's greatest architectural achievement tells its own story. The stones remain silent because those who built them spoke a language the Egyptians never learned, possessed knowledge the pharaohs never acquired, and disappeared into history long before the 1st Dynasty ever rose to power along the Nile. Yet if the Egyptians did not build these monuments, if their own records and traditions point to an earlier origin, then who possessed the knowledge and capabilities necessary for such impossible construction? The silence of the stones conceals not just the absence of Egyptian claims, but the presence of something far more extraordinary, evidence of a lost chapter in human history that challenges everything we thought we knew about the rise of civilization itself. High in the Bolivian Andes, at an elevation where the air grows thin and the modern world feels impossibly distant, lies Puma Punku, a monument that shatters every conventional understanding of ancient capabilities. Here, at 13,000 feet above sea level, massive stone blocks weighing over 100 tons have been cut with a precision that would challenge contemporary laser cutting technology. The tolerances measure in fractions of millimeters. The surfaces are polished to a mirror finish. The geometric complexity defies explanation. These are not primitive megalithic structures. These are machine-age artifacts created by a civilization that officially never existed. The H-blocks of Puma Punku represent engineering achievements that Bronze Age civilizations could not have accomplished. Each block weighs between 60 and 130 tons, yet they fit together with tolerances tighter than modern construction typically achieves. The cutting patterns show evidence of rotary drilling, precision sawing, and polishing techniques that require industrial-grade equipment. The angles are cut to fractions of degrees, creating interlocking joints that would challenge modern fabrication facilities. Carbon dating of organic materials found at the site yields dates ranging from 15,000 to 17,000 years ago, pushing the construction back to the end of the last ice age, long before civilization supposedly emerged anywhere on Earth. These dates place Puma Punku's construction in an era when humans were allegedly hunter-gatherers with no knowledge of agriculture, metallurgy, or complex construction techniques. Yet, the evidence carved in stone tells a different story entirely. The massive stones of Puma Punku came from quarries located across Lake Titicaca, requiring transport across water and up mountain slopes that would challenge modern heavy lifting equipment. The logistics of moving 130-ton blocks across such terrain using primitive technology approaches impossibility. The precision required to cut and fit these massive stones demands capabilities that exceed those of most contemporary stone-cutting operations. 6,000 miles away, on Peru's Sacred Valley, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman presents another impossibility. Massive limestone blocks, some weighing over 300 tons, have been fitted together with precision that allows no space for even a knife blade between joints. The blocks are cut in complex polygonal shapes that interlock like three-dimensional puzzles, creating walls that have survived centuries of earthquakes that destroyed later Spanish colonial buildings. The cutting precision at Sacsayhuaman reveals knowledge of metallurgy and tool-making that officially did not exist in pre-Columbian America. The limestone blocks show evidence of cutting by tools harder than bronze or copper, the only metals supposedly available to ancient Andean civilizations. Some researchers suggest the cuts could only have been made by steel tools or industrial diamond cutting equipment, technologies that place the construction thousands of years outside accepted chronologies. The transportation challenges at Sacsayhuaman mirror those found at Puma Punku. The limestone came from quarries located miles away across mountainous terrain. Moving blocks weighing hundreds of tons across such geography would require cranes, hydraulic systems, and transportation equipment that did not officially exist in ancient Peru. Yet the blocks sit perfectly positioned, cut and fitted with tolerances that challenge modern engineering capabilities. Across the Pacific Ocean, Easter Island presents yet another piece of this global puzzle. The island's famous Moai statues represent only the visible portion of a far more complex mystery. Recent excavations have revealed that many of the statues extend deep underground, with full bodies that dwarf the visible heads. These underground portions show evidence of sophisticated carving and engineering that predates the Polynesian settlement of the island by thousands of years. The transportation of the Moai across the island presents logistical challenges that parallel those found at other megalithic sites worldwide. Some statues weigh over 80 tons, yet they were somehow moved across the island's rough terrain and positioned with precision. The traditional explanations involving wooden rollers and ropes fail under engineering analysis, just as they do for pyramid construction and Andean megalithic transport. The quarry at Rano Raraku, where most moai were carved, contains nearly 400 statues in various stages of completion. The site appears to have been abandoned suddenly, leaving behind evidence of sophisticated stone carving operations that exceed the capabilities typically attributed to Polynesian civilizations. The precision of the carving, the scale of the operation, and the advanced understanding of stoneworking techniques suggest capabilities far beyond those of the island's known inhabitants. Perhaps most significantly, the moai show clear evidence of having been created during multiple historical periods, with the earliest examples demonstrating far superior craftsmanship and precision compared to later attempts. This pattern suggests the island's original builders possessed capabilities that were lost over time, replaced by cruder attempts to replicate the original achievements. Turkey's Göbekli Tepe represents perhaps the most devastating blow to conventional archaeological timelines. This massive temple complex, featuring precisely carved megalithic pillars arranged in sophisticated circular patterns, predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years and the Great Pyramid by 7,000 years. The construction dates to approximately 9,600 BC, placing it at the end of the last ice age, when humans supposedly lived in small hunter-gatherer bands with no knowledge of complex construction or social organization. The pillars at Göbekli Tepe weigh up to 20 tons each and stand 20 feet tall. They are precisely carved with sophisticated relief sculptures depicting animals, geometric patterns, and abstract symbols that suggest advanced artistic and symbolic thinking. The site required coordinated labor from hundreds of workers over extended periods, implying social organization and planning capabilities that officially did not exist in the Neolithic period. The precision of the stone carving at Göbekli Tepe rivals that found at Giza and Pumapunku. The pillars are cut from solid limestone using techniques that leave smooth, polished surfaces and precise geometric shapes. The T-shaped designs require understanding of architectural principles and structural engineering that predates known development of such knowledge by millennia. Most mysteriously, Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried around 8,000 BC, entombing the entire complex under tons of earth and rock. This massive undertaking would have required coordinated effort from large numbers of workers, yet it was accomplished during a period when such organizational capabilities supposedly did not exist. The burial preserved the site perfectly, suggesting the builders understood the importance of protecting their achievement for future discovery. The implications of Göbekli Tepe's existence extend far beyond archaeology into the realm of fundamental questions about human civilization. If hunter-gatherer societies could create such sophisticated monuments 11,000 years ago, why did similar achievements not appear elsewhere until thousands of years later? The site suggests capabilities that were somehow lost, forgotten, or deliberately abandoned as human civilization supposedly progressed. Megalithic sites across Europe tell similar stories of impossible achievements predating accepted timelines. The trilithons of Stonehenge, while not approaching the precision found at Giza or Pumapunku, still required capabilities that challenge conventional understanding of Neolithic societies. The massive stones came from quarries located hundreds of miles away, requiring transportation across terrain that would challenge modern equipment. The acoustic properties of Stonehenge reveal sophisticated understanding of sound engineering that parallels discoveries at the Great Pyramid. The stone circle creates acoustic effects that amplify and focus sound in specific patterns, transforming the monument into a massive acoustic instrument. This suggests the builders possessed knowledge of harmonic resonance and acoustic engineering that was supposedly unknown to Neolithic peoples. Similar patterns emerge at megalithic sites across Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Newgrange in Ireland, predating Stonehenge by 1,000 years, demonstrates astronomical alignments and construction techniques that require sophisticated mathematical knowledge and precise surveying capabilities. The passage tomb is designed to allow sunlight to penetrate its interior only during the winter solstice, requiring understanding of celestial mechanics and precision construction that challenges accepted capabilities of Neolithic societies. The global distribution of these impossible monuments cannot be explained by coincidence or independent development. The similarities in construction techniques, precision tolerances, and engineering challenges suggest shared knowledge and capabilities that spanned continents and oceans. These monuments appear simultaneously across the globe during periods when different civilizations supposedly had no contact with each other. The transportation challenges alone suggest technologies that have been lost to history. Moving massive stones across continents and oceans requires capabilities that exceed those of many modern operations. The precision cutting found at sites worldwide demands tools and techniques that challenge contemporary understanding of ancient technological capabilities. The sudden appearance of these monuments in the archaeological record without evidence of gradual development or learning curves suggests the builders already possessed the necessary knowledge and capabilities. Unlike typical technological development, which shows clear progression from simple to complex achievements, these megalithic monuments appear fully realized from their first appearance. The dating evidence from sites worldwide consistently pushes construction dates back far beyond accepted timelines for complex civilization. Carbon dating, astronomical alignments, and geological evidence all point to construction periods that predate known development of the technologies required for such achievements. This creates fundamental contradictions between the archaeological evidence and accepted models of human development. The preservation of these monuments across millennia suggests they were built to last far longer than typical human lifespans or even civilizational periods. The engineering principles employed in their construction account for seismic activity, weathering, and structural stresses over geological timescales. This long-term thinking implies builders who understood their achievements might need to survive catastrophic events or extended periods of abandonment. The acoustic and astronomical properties found at sites worldwide suggest purposes far beyond simple monuments or burial chambers. These structures function as sophisticated instruments for observing celestial mechanics, creating acoustic effects, and encoding mathematical knowledge in their physical design. They represent a level of scientific understanding that challenges accepted timelines for human intellectual development. The pattern that emerges from examining these sites worldwide is unmistakable. Across continents and millennia, megalithic monuments demonstrate capabilities that exceed those officially attributed to their builders. The precision, scale, and sophistication of these achievements suggest a lost chapter in human history, evidence of advanced civilizations that possess knowledge and technologies that have been forgotten by mainstream archaeology. The transportation, cutting, and construction techniques required for these monuments represent engineering achievements that challenge contemporary capabilities. The mathematical precision, astronomical alignments, and acoustic properties suggest scientific knowledge that predates accepted development of such understanding by thousands of years. As night falls across the globe, from the windswept plateau of Giza to the high Andes of Bolivia, these monuments stand as silent testimony to human achievements that officially never occurred. They represent evidence of capabilities that have been lost, knowledge that has been forgotten, and civilizations that have been erased from the conventional historical record. The global pattern they create cannot be dismissed as coincidence or independent development. These monuments speak with one voice across continents and millennia, telling the same impossible story of human achievements that challenge everything we thought we knew about our past. But if ancient civilizations possessed such advanced capabilities, what happened to them? How did knowledge sufficient to create these impossible monuments disappear so completely from the historical record? The answer may lie not in gradual decline or cultural change, but in catastrophe on a scale that reset human civilization itself, erasing not just the builders, but nearly all trace of their existence from the world they once dominated. In the Dialogues of Plato, written around 360 BC, lies an account that has haunted human imagination for over 2 millennia. The story of Atlantis, dismissed by modern scholarship as philosophical allegory, may represent something far more significant: the preserved memory of a civilization whose technological achievements have been systematically erased from the archaeological record. Plato's account comes not from imagination, but from Egyptian temple records. The philosopher claims his information originated with Solon, the Athenian lawgiver, who obtained it directly from priests at the Temple of Neith in Sais, Egypt. These priests spoke of written records dating back 9,000 years, describing a maritime civilization of extraordinary technological sophistication that dominated the Mediterranean and Atlantic regions before vanishing in a single catastrophic day. The timeline Plato provides places Atlantis's destruction around 9600 BC, precisely the period when megalithic construction suddenly appears at sites like Göbekli Tepe, and when evidence suggests global climatic catastrophe. This synchronicity cannot be dismissed as coincidence when examined alongside the mounting evidence for advanced pre-flood civilizations worldwide. The Egyptian priests described Atlantean capabilities that matched the impossible engineering achievements found at megalithic sites across the globe. They spoke of technologies for moving massive stones, precision construction techniques, and metallurgical knowledge that produced materials harder than any known to Bronze Age civilizations. These descriptions align perfectly with the evidence carved in stone at Giza, Pumapunku, and countless other sites. Ancient Sumerian texts provide additional testimony to advanced pre-flood civilizations. The Sumerian king list speaks of rulers who reigned for impossibly long periods before the flood, presiding over civilizations of extraordinary achievement. These antediluvian kings are credited with introducing agriculture, metallurgy, mathematics, and architectural knowledge to post-flood humanity, exactly the skills necessary for megalithic construction. The Epic of Gilgamesh contains detailed accounts of pre-flood civilizations whose technological capabilities exceeded those of later periods. Utnapishtim, the Sumerian Noah, describes a world of advanced cities, sophisticated engineering, and knowledge that was nearly lost in the global catastrophe. The epic portrays the flood not as divine punishment for moral failures, but as a cosmic catastrophe that reset human civilization, forcing survivors to rebuild from primitive conditions. Hindu traditions preserve perhaps the most detailed accounts of advanced pre-flood civilizations. The Puranas describe cycles of creation and destruction spanning hundreds of thousands of years, with humanity achieving technological heights that rival or exceed modern capabilities before being reset by global catastrophes. These texts describe flying vehicles, precision weapons, and construction techniques that mirror the impossible achievements found at megalithic sites. The Mahabharata contains descriptions of ancient weapons and technologies that sound remarkably like advanced metallurgy and engineering. References to materials harder than diamond, cutting tools that could slice through any substance, and flying vehicles that could transport massive loads across continents provide technological context for the megalithic achievements that orthodox archaeology cannot explain. Native American traditions across both continents preserve detailed accounts of advanced civilizations that preceded current tribal cultures. The Hopi speak of previous worlds destroyed by cosmic catastrophes, with survivors bringing advanced knowledge to rebuild civilization. These oral traditions describe precision stone cutting, massive construction projects, and technologies for moving enormous blocks across great distances. The Maya Popol Vuh describes multiple creations and destructions of humanity, with each cycle achieving different levels of technological sophistication. The text explicitly states that previous civilizations possessed knowledge and capabilities that were lost during the catastrophic transitions between world ages. This cyclical view of history provides context for understanding how advanced megalithic technologies could have existed and been lost. Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime stories, among the oldest continuous oral traditions on Earth, describe advanced beings who shaped the landscape using technologies that could move mountains and carve rivers. These traditions speak of a time when the ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities that were lost when the world was remade by cosmic catastrophe. The global flood traditions preserved by cultures worldwide contain remarkable consistency in their basic elements. Over 300 cultures preserve accounts of a worldwide deluge that destroyed advanced civilizations, with only a few survivors preserving fragments of antediluvian knowledge. These traditions describe not just climatic catastrophe, but technological and cultural regression that forced humanity to rebuild from primitive conditions. The geological evidence for the Younger Dryas impact event provides scientific context for these global traditions. Around 10,800 BC, massive cosmic impacts triggered global climate change, mega flooding, and mass extinctions that reset terrestrial ecosystems worldwide. The scale of this catastrophe would have been sufficient to destroy any existing advanced civilizations and force survivors into primitive survival conditions. Ice core data from Greenland and Antarctica reveals evidence of multiple cosmic impacts during the Younger Dryas period, creating a global catastrophe that lasted over a millennium. The climate disruption included mega-droughts, massive flooding, temperature fluctuations, and atmospheric changes that would have made complex civilization impossible to maintain. Any pre-impact technological achievements would have been swept away by the sheer scale of environmental devastation. The timing of this catastrophe aligns precisely with the mysterious appearance of agriculture and megalithic construction in the archaeological record. Rather than representing the beginning of civilization, these achievements may represent the desperate attempts of survivors to preserve and transmit knowledge from destroyed civilizations. The sudden appearance of complex technologies without apparent development periods suggests transmission from existing knowledge rather than independent invention. The survivors of such catastrophes would have faced impossible challenges in preserving technological knowledge. Complex manufacturing requires industrial infrastructure, specialized materials, and coordinated social organization, all of which would have been destroyed by global catastrophe. The knowledge that survived would necessarily be limited to techniques that could be implemented using post-catastrophe materials and primitive tools. Yet even these limited techniques demonstrate capabilities that challenge conventional archaeology. The precision stone cutting found at megalithic sites worldwide represents the minimum technological capability that could be preserved and transmitted by catastrophe survivors. The fact that even these primitive techniques exceed Bronze Age capabilities suggests the original civilizations possessed technological sophistication far beyond anything in the conventional historical record. The encoded astronomical knowledge found in megalithic monuments provides additional evidence for knowledge transmission from advanced civilizations. The complex mathematical relationships, stellar alignments, and geodetic measurements incorporated into these structures represent intellectual achievements that required sophisticated observational tools and mathematical techniques. This knowledge could only have been preserved by survivors who understood its importance for future generations. The mystery schools of ancient civilizations may represent institutional attempts to preserve fragments of antediluvian knowledge. Egyptian, Mesopotamian, and other ancient cultures maintained secret traditions that claimed to preserve wisdom from before the flood. These institutions taught advanced mathematics, astronomy, and engineering principles that enabled the construction achievements attributed to early civilizations. The gradual degradation of construction techniques visible in the archaeological record supports the survival hypothesis. The earliest megalithic monuments demonstrate the highest precision and technological sophistication, with later attempts showing progressive decline in capability. This pattern suggests knowledge that was being lost over time, rather than developed through experimentation and improvement. The megalithic monuments themselves may represent knowledge preservation systems designed by survivor civilizations. The mathematical constants Astronomical alignments and geodetic measurements encoded in their structure create permanent records of advanced knowledge that could survive even complete civilizational collapse. These monuments function as libraries carved in stone, preserving information for future rediscovery. The acoustic properties found at megalithic sites worldwide suggest additional knowledge preservation functions. The precise acoustic engineering creates spaces where oral traditions could be amplified and preserved with extraordinary accuracy. These acoustic effects may have been designed to aid in the memorization and transmission of complex technical knowledge across generations of survivors. The global distribution of megalithic construction techniques provides evidence for coordinated knowledge preservation efforts. The similarity of precision cutting, massive stone transport, and astronomical alignment found at sites across all continents suggests not independent development, but systematic preservation of shared techniques by survivor communities worldwide. The sudden abandonment of megalithic construction around 4000 BC marks the final loss of antediluvian knowledge systems. After this period, large-scale precision stone construction virtually disappears from the archaeological record, replaced by smaller-scale projects using cruder techniques. This transition marks the complete severance of the knowledge transmission chain connecting post-catastrophe survivors to their advanced predecessors. The rise of metallurgy and writing systems around this same period may represent alternative knowledge preservation strategies developed as megalithic techniques were finally lost. These new technologies enabled different forms of information storage and transmission, but lacked the permanence and precision of knowledge encoded in megalithic monuments. The ancient traditions describing gods or advanced beings who taught civilization skills to primitive humanity take on new significance in this context. These accounts may preserve memories of encounter between megalithic knowledge keepers and post-catastrophe populations who had lost technological capabilities. The gods of ancient traditions may have been the last survivors of advanced civilizations sharing critical knowledge with primitive descendants. The mysterious disappearance of these knowledge keepers from historical records suggests their numbers were always small and their survival precarious. As the last repositories of antediluvian knowledge died out, the techniques for megalithic construction, precision metallurgy, and advanced astronomy vanished with them. Only the monuments themselves remain as testimony to their existence and achievements. The megalithic monuments stand as memorials not just to unknown builders, but to entire civilizations whose existence has been erased from conventional history. These structures represent the final achievements of survivors whose knowledge died with them, leaving behind only stone testimony to human capabilities that officially never existed. In the silence of ancient ruins, the voices of forgotten builders whisper across millennia. They speak of civilizations that rose and fell in cycles of creation and destruction, of knowledge gained and lost in the endless dance between human achievement and cosmic catastrophe. Their monuments remain as questions carved in stone, asking whether humanity's greatest achievements lie not in the future, but buried in the forgotten past. The pattern emerges from legends and stone alike. Advanced civilizations did exist in Earth's distant past, possessing knowledge and capabilities that enabled the impossible construction achievements found worldwide. These civilizations fell to cosmic catastrophe, leaving only fragments of their knowledge in the hands of survivors who struggled to preserve what they could in monuments designed to outlast the ages. But if survivor civilizations possessed even limited knowledge of advanced technologies, why does this knowledge not appear in the conventional historical record? The answer may lie not in natural loss or gradual forgetting, but in systematic suppression, a deliberate effort to erase evidence of humanity's true technological heritage from historical consciousness itself. In the dusty archives of academic institutions worldwide, a pattern emerges that extends far beyond simple scholarly disagreement. Discoveries that challenge established timelines disappear from public view. Researchers who question orthodox chronologies find their careers derailed. Evidence that supports advanced ancient civilizations faces systematic dismissal, ridicule, and suppression. This is not the natural evolution of scientific understanding. This is the deliberate maintenance of a historical narrative that cannot withstand scrutiny. The institutional investment in conventional archaeology extends far beyond academic reputation. Universities, museums, publishing houses, and government funding agencies have built entire infrastructure around the accepted timeline of human development. Challenging this timeline threatens not just individual careers, but entire institutional frameworks that depend on the current historical model. The financial and professional stakes involved in maintaining orthodox chronology create powerful incentives for suppressing contradictory evidence. The case of the Sphinx water erosion evidence provides a stark example of academic resistance to paradigm-shifting discoveries. When geological analysis revealed that the Sphinx shows clear evidence of water erosion patterns consistent with thousands of years of rainfall, the implications for Egyptian chronology became undeniable. The last period when Egypt experienced sufficient rainfall to create such erosion ended around 7000 BC, thousands of years before the supposed construction date. Orthodox Egyptology's response to this geological evidence reveals the institutional mechanisms used to suppress inconvenient discoveries. Rather than acknowledging the implications for Sphinx dating, the archaeological establishment launched coordinated attacks on the geological methodology, the researchers involved, and the validity of applying geological analysis to archaeological questions. Professional conferences refused to include presentations on the topic. Academic journals rejected papers supporting the geological evidence. The discovery effectively vanished from mainstream archaeological discourse. Similar patterns emerge around discoveries at other sites worldwide. When carbon dating at Göbekli Tepe revealed construction dates thousands of years earlier than conventional timelines allowed, the initial response was to question the dating methodology rather than revise historical models. Only when overwhelming evidence made denial impossible did the archaeological establishment reluctantly acknowledge the site's age, while carefully limiting discussion of its implications for understanding ancient capabilities. The suppression of anomalous artifacts represents perhaps the most systematic aspect of archaeological cover-up. Objects that demonstrate advanced metallurgy, precision manufacturing, or sophisticated technology in supposedly primitive contexts routinely disappear from museum collections, academic publications, and public awareness. The London Hammer, the Khoso Geode, the Antikythera mechanism, and countless other artifacts that challenge conventional timelines face dismissal, misclassification, or complete removal from scholarly consideration. Academic publishing systems create additional barriers to challenging orthodox chronology. Peer review processes ensure that papers questioning established timelines face scrutiny from reviewers invested in maintaining current models. Editorial boards at major archaeological journals consist largely of scholars whose careers depend on orthodox interpretations. The result is a publication system that systematically filters out evidence supporting advanced ancient civilizations. The funding mechanisms for archaeological research create further incentives for conformity. Government agencies, private foundations, and academic institutions provide research grants based on proposals that align with accepted historical models. Researchers who propose investigating evidence for advanced ancient civilizations find their funding applications rejected, their career prospects limited, and their professional reputations damaged. The financial control over archaeological research effectively determines which discoveries receive investigation and which remain unexplored. Media coverage of archaeological discoveries reveals additional layers of narrative control. Mainstream news outlets rely on established archaeological authorities for interpretation of new findings. These authorities consistently minimize or dismiss evidence that challenges conventional timelines, ensuring that public understanding remains aligned with orthodox models. Alternative interpretations, receive coverage only in fringe publications, automatically discrediting them in public perception. The treatment of researchers who challenge orthodox chronology demonstrates the professional consequences of questioning established narratives. Geologist Robert Schoch faced career damage for presenting geological evidence regarding Sphinx dating. Engineer Christopher Dunn encountered academic hostility for proposing technological interpretations of pyramid construction. Author Graham Hancock experienced coordinated attacks for suggesting advanced pre-Ice Age civilizations. These examples illustrate the systematic punishment awaiting scholars who challenge accepted historical models. Educational systems perpetuate orthodox chronology through carefully controlled curricula that present conventional timelines as established fact rather than theoretical models. Textbooks, classroom instruction, and academic programs systematically exclude evidence supporting advanced ancient civilizations. Students learn to dismiss such evidence as pseudoscience without ever examining the actual data. This educational conditioning creates generations of scholars programmed to reject paradigm-shifting discoveries automatically. Professional archaeological organizations maintain orthodoxy through membership requirements, certification processes, and ethical guidelines that discourage investigation of controversial topics. The Society for American Archaeology, the Archaeological Institute of America, and similar organizations worldwide create professional standards that effectively exclude researchers interested in advanced ancient civilizations. These institutional barriers ensure that archaeological career advancement depends on conformity to established models. Museum exhibition policies provide another mechanism for controlling public understanding of archaeological evidence. Major museums worldwide consistently exclude artifacts and interpretations that challenge conventional timelines. When such objects are displayed, they receive minimal context and explanation, effectively rendering them invisible to public understanding. The control over museum narratives shapes public perception of ancient history while suppressing evidence for advanced civilizations. The systematic misclassification of anomalous artifacts represents perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of archaeological suppression. Objects demonstrating impossible technological achievements receive alternative classifications that place them outside the purview of serious archaeological study. Precision-cut megalithic blocks become natural formations. Advanced metallurgical artifacts become modern contamination. Sophisticated astronomical instruments become religious objects. This reclassification process removes challenging evidence from archaeological consideration while maintaining the appearance of scholarly objectivity. The role of government agencies in controlling archaeological narratives extends beyond funding and regulation. Intelligence agencies, military organizations, and government scientific institutions maintain active interest in archaeological discoveries, particularly those with technological implications. The classification of discoveries as sensitive or restricted removes them from public and academic scrutiny, effectively erasing evidence that challenges official historical narratives. The suppression of technological interpretations of ancient monuments reveals the depth of institutional resistance to paradigm-shifting evidence. When researchers propose that megalithic structures functioned as technological devices rather than primitive monuments, the response involves not just academic criticism, but coordinated professional ostracism. The possibility that ancient civilizations possessed advanced technologies threatens fundamental assumptions about human development that institutional archaeology cannot afford to acknowledge. International cooperation in maintaining orthodox chronology creates global barriers to investigating advanced ancient civilizations. UNESCO World Heritage designations, international archaeological agreements, and cross-border research protocols consistently support conventional interpretations while restricting access to potentially paradigm-shifting sites. This international coordination ensures that challenges to orthodox chronology face systematic opposition worldwide. The legal framework surrounding archaeological research provides additional tools for suppressing inconvenient discoveries. Property rights, excavation permits, and artifact ownership laws can be manipulated to prevent investigation of sites that might yield paradigm-shifting evidence. When private researchers attempt to study anomalous sites or artifacts, legal challenges and regulatory obstacles routinely prevent their work from proceeding. The pattern of discovery suppression extends across decades and continents, revealing coordination that transcends individual academic disagreements. From the burial of water erosion evidence at the Sphinx to the dismissal of precision cutting at Puma Punku, from the reclassification of technological artifacts to the professional destruction of challenging researchers, the response follows consistent patterns that suggest systematic rather than spontaneous resistance. The economic interests involved in maintaining conventional historical narratives extend beyond academic institutions to encompass tourism industries, publishing companies, documentary production, and educational systems worldwide. Entire economic sectors depend on the current historical model, creating powerful financial incentives for suppressing evidence that would require fundamental revision of accepted timelines. The psychological mechanisms underlying discovery suppression reveal deep-seated resistance to paradigm-shifting revelations. The acknowledgement of advanced ancient civilizations would require not just revision of historical timelines, but fundamental reconsideration of human potential, technological development, and civilizational cycles. Such revelations threaten core assumptions about progress, superiority, and the uniqueness of modern achievements that contemporary civilization depends upon for its identity and legitimacy. The religious and ideological implications of advanced ancient civilizations create additional motivations for suppression. Many religious worldviews depend on specific chronologies and developmental models that would be challenged by evidence of pre-flood technological civilizations. Political ideologies that assume linear progress or cultural superiority would require fundamental revision if ancient civilizations possessed capabilities exceeding modern achievements. The cumulative effect of systematic suppression has created an archaeological establishment that functions more like a belief system than a scientific discipline. Orthodox chronology has achieved the status of sacred doctrine, defended through institutional mechanisms that prioritize conformity over discovery. The result is an academic field that systematically excludes the evidence necessary for understanding humanity's true technological heritage. The digital age has begun to challenge traditional suppression mechanisms as independent researchers gain access to information and communication tools that bypass institutional gatekeepers. Online platforms, digital archives, and alternative media outlets enable the preservation and dissemination of suppressed evidence despite academic resistance. However, new forms of censorship and information control continue to limit public access to paradigm-shifting discoveries. The cost of systematic suppression extends beyond academic honesty to encompass lost opportunities for technological advancement and spiritual understanding. If ancient civilizations possess knowledge and capabilities that have been lost, suppressing evidence of their achievements prevents contemporary humanity from recovering potentially beneficial technologies and wisdom traditions. The maintenance of false historical narratives may be preventing access to knowledge that could address current global challenges. As night falls over archaeological sites worldwide, the monuments to forgotten civilizations stand as silent accusations against the institutions that deny their significance. These ancient achievements represent not just lost knowledge, but suppressed truth, evidence of human potential that challenges every assumption about civilization, progress, and the nature of history itself. The pattern of discovery, suppression, and institutional resistance reveals a coordinated effort to maintain historical narratives that cannot survive honest examination. The evidence for advanced ancient civilizations grows stronger with each passing year, while the mechanisms for suppressing that evidence become more sophisticated and coordinated. Yet the monuments themselves remain beyond the reach of institutional suppression. Carved in stone, aligned with stars, and encoded with mathematical precision, they preserve testimony to achievements that no amount of academic denial can erase. Their silent presence challenges every orthodox assumption about human history, while pointing toward revelations that could transform our understanding of civilization itself. The question that haunts every honest examination of the evidence grows more urgent with each suppressed discovery, each silenced researcher, each reclassified artifact. If the archaeological establishment will go to such lengths to suppress evidence of advanced ancient civilizations, what truths are they desperate to keep hidden? The desert wind carries whispers across the Giza Plateau as the first stars pierce the deepening twilight. For over 4 millennia, these monuments have stood witness to the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of civilizations, the endless procession of human ambition and achievement. Yet in their perfect silence, they guard secrets that reach far deeper than any conventional history dares to acknowledge. The evidence stands irrefutable, carved in stone and encoded in mathematics that cannot lie. The Great Pyramid could not have been built by Bronze Age Egyptians using primitive tools and manual labor. The precision demands capabilities that exceed those of many contemporary operations. The mathematical knowledge encoded in its structure represents understanding that officially did not exist for millennia after its supposed construction. The acoustic and electromagnetic properties demonstrate technological sophistication that challenges every assumption about ancient capabilities. This is not speculation or wishful thinking. This is engineering analysis applied to physical evidence that has withstood 45 centuries of scrutiny. The tolerances, the weights, the transportation challenges, the cutting precision, the astronomical alignments, every measurement tells the same impossible story. The conventional explanation for pyramid construction is not merely incomplete, it is demonstrably false. The global pattern of megalithic construction compounds this impossibility into a revelation that reshapes human history itself. From the impossible precision of Puma Punku to the massive stones of Sacsayhuaman, from the buried complexity of Göbekli Tepe to the astronomical sophistication of Stonehenge, the evidence points to capabilities that transcend anything in the conventional archaeological record. These achievements appear simultaneously across the globe during periods when such coordination should have been impossible, suggesting knowledge and technologies that have been systematically erased from historical consciousness. The silence of ancient records becomes even more damning when examined honestly. The Egyptians themselves never claimed to have built the pyramids. Their own texts treat these monuments as ancient mysteries inherited from the gods or the first time. No contemporary construction records exist. No hieroglyphic accounts describe the methods or workforce for a civilization that documented everything from tax collection to military campaigns. This absence speaks louder than any inscription ever could. The pattern extends across cultures and continents. Ancient traditions worldwide preserve accounts of advanced civilizations that preceded current historical periods. These are not vague myths or spiritual allegories. They are detailed technical descriptions of capabilities that match the impossible achievements found at megalithic sites globally. The flood traditions preserved by over 300 cultures describe not just climatic catastrophe, but technological regression that forced humanity to rebuild from primitive conditions. The Younger Dryas impact event provides the scientific framework for understanding how such advanced civilizations could have existed and vanished so completely from the historical record. The cosmic impacts of 10,800 BC triggered global catastrophe sufficient to destroy any existing technological infrastructure and force survivors into subsistence conditions. The megalithic monuments that appear in the archaeological record after this period may represent desperate attempts by survivors to preserve fragments of antediluvian knowledge in structures designed to outlast future catastrophes. This interpretation transforms our understanding of human history from linear progression to cyclical catastrophe and recovery. Civilization does not develop from primitive to advanced in steady progression. Instead, humanity achieves technological heights repeatedly across geological time, only to lose those achievements in cosmic catastrophes that reset the developmental clock. The megalithic monuments represent not the beginning of complex civilization, but the twilight efforts of survivors, preserving knowledge from destroyed advanced civilizations. The implications stagger the imagination. If cosmic catastrophes periodically reset human civilization, then technological achievements far exceeding our current capabilities may have existed multiple times in Earth's past. The precision cutting found at megalithic sites worldwide may represent the simplest technologies that catastrophe survivors could preserve and implement using post-impact materials and primitive tools. The original civilizations may have possessed capabilities that would appear magical, even to contemporary standards. The systematic suppression of evidence supporting this interpretation reveals the depth of institutional investment in maintaining false historical narratives. Academic archaeology, government agencies, educational systems, and media organizations coordinate to suppress discoveries that challenge orthodox chronology. Researchers who investigate evidence for advanced ancient civilizations face career destruction. Artifacts that demonstrate impossible technological capabilities disappear from museum collections. Publication systems filter out papers supporting paradigm-shifting interpretations. This coordinated suppression suggests that powerful interests understand the implications of acknowledging humanity's true technological heritage. The revelation that advanced civilizations existed in Earth's past would shatter fundamental assumptions about progress, development, and the uniqueness of modern achievements. It would raise uncomfortable questions about what knowledge has been lost, what technologies have been forgotten, and what capabilities humanity might recover if freed from the artificial constraints of orthodox historical models. The resistance to acknowledging advanced ancient civilizations may also reflect deeper fears about human potential and cosmic vulnerability. If previous civilizations achieved technological heights only to be destroyed by cosmic catastrophe, then contemporary civilization faces the same existential threat. The acknowledgement of cyclical catastrophe challenges the illusion of permanent progress and inevitable technological advancement that modern societies depend upon for psychological stability. Yet the monuments themselves remain beyond the reach of institutional denial. The precision cannot be explained away. The mathematics cannot be dismissed. The global patterns cannot be ignored indefinitely. Each passing year brings new discoveries that strengthen the case for advanced ancient civilizations while revealing new impossibilities in orthodox explanations. The truth carved in stone grows more undeniable with each honest measurement, each careful analysis, each objective examination of the evidence. The acoustic properties discovered in megalithic monuments worldwide suggest purposes far beyond simple construction or burial. These structures function as sophisticated instruments for generating, amplifying, and focusing sound energy with scientific precision. The mathematical constants encoded in their design create permanent libraries of advanced knowledge accessible to any civilization capable of measurement and calculation. The astronomical alignments preserve observational data spanning thousands of years of careful celestial monitoring. These monuments represent knowledge preservation systems designed by civilizations that understood their vulnerability to cosmic catastrophe. They encoded critical information in the most permanent medium available, stone architecture aligned with unchanging celestial mechanics and mathematical relationships. The builders created messages intended for future discovery by survivors or successor civilizations capable of understanding their significance. The technological implications extend far beyond historical curiosity into realms that could transform contemporary understanding of physics, engineering, and consciousness itself. If the Great Pyramid functioned as an energy generation system using harmonic resonance and electromagnetic principles, then its builders possessed knowledge of fundamental forces that modern science is only beginning to understand. The acoustic engineering found at megalithic sites worldwide suggests understanding of vibrational frequencies and their effects on matter and consciousness that could revolutionize contemporary technology. The medical and consciousness applications of megalithic acoustic systems hint at knowledge that could address current global challenges in health, psychology, and human development. The precise frequencies generated by these ancient structures may have been designed to induce specific consciousness states, promote healing, or facilitate communication across vast distances using principles that contemporary science has yet to discover. The agricultural and environmental knowledge preserved in megalithic astronomical alignments could provide solutions to contemporary challenges in sustainable development and climate adaptation. The sophisticated understanding of celestial cycles, seasonal patterns, and long-term climate variations encoded in these monuments represents observational data spanning millennia of careful monitoring. This information could prove invaluable for understanding natural climate cycles and developing strategies for agricultural sustainability. The metallurgical and construction techniques implied by megalithic precision cutting suggest knowledge of materials science and engineering that could advance contemporary manufacturing and construction capabilities. If ancient civilizations possessed tools and techniques for cutting stone with tolerances measured in thousands of inches, then understanding these methods could revolutionize modern production technologies. The transportation solutions required for megalithic construction imply understanding of physics and engineering that could transform contemporary logistics and heavy industry. The ability to move blocks weighing hundreds of tons across continental distances using Bronze Age materials suggests knowledge of leverage, energy transfer, and mechanical advantage that exceeds current engineering understanding. Yet accessing this knowledge requires acknowledging its existence, a step that institutional archaeology has systematically prevented through decades of coordinated suppression. The recovery of humanity's true technological heritage depends on overcoming the artificial barriers that prevent honest investigation of megalithic achievements and their implications for understanding advanced ancient civilizations. The personal implications for individual understanding reach beyond historical knowledge into fundamental questions about human potential and cosmic consciousness. If advanced civilizations repeatedly achieve technological and spiritual heights before being reset by cosmic catastrophe, then contemporary humanity possesses latent capabilities far exceeding current achievements. The recovery of ancient knowledge could catalyze not just technological advancement, but consciousness evolution that reconnects humanity with its true heritage and potential. The cyclical nature of civilization implied by megalithic evidence suggests that humanity stands at a crossroads familiar to previous advanced civilizations. The cosmic threats that destroyed past technological achievements remain active and could strike again at any time. The choice facing contemporary civilization is whether to recover the knowledge and technologies that might enable survival of future catastrophes, or continue the illusion of linear progress that leaves humanity vulnerable to the same cosmic forces that reset previous civilizations. The monuments speak across the ages with mathematical precision that transcends language, culture, and historical interpretation. They encode knowledge that remains accessible to any civilization capable of measurement and calculation. Their message is both warning and invitation, warning of cosmic catastrophe that periodically resets human civilization, an invitation to recover the knowledge and technologies that enabled previous civilizations to preserve fragments of their achievements for future discovery. Standing before the Great Pyramid as starlight illuminates its weathered face, the weight of 4.5 millennia of mysteries presses down like the stones themselves. This is not merely an ancient tomb or primitive monument. This is a message from a civilization whose very existence challenges everything we thought we knew about human history, technological development, and our place in the cosmic order. The haunting truth whispers through the desert night. We are not the first advanced civilization to arise on Earth, and unless we recover the knowledge encoded in stone by our predecessors, we may not be the last to fall to forces beyond our current understanding. The pyramids were never built by the Egyptians. They are monuments to capabilities we have forgotten, technologies we have lost, and wisdom we desperately need to recover. They stand as questions carved in stone, asking whether humanity will choose to remember its true heritage or continue the comfortable illusion that hides the most important knowledge our species has ever possessed. The choice is ours. The monuments wait. The truth endures. In the silence of ancient stones, the echoes of forgotten civilizations call across the ages, asking one final haunting question. What will we choose to remember, and what will we allow ourselves to forget?